Hello students, let's read the problem. And it says, what is the slope and y-intercept of the line represented by the graph below? So let's see what's the first thing that they want me to find. Well, they want me to find the slope, but they also want me to find the y-intercept. So let's see if you remember how to find the slope. So one of the things that you're going to notice is that anytime that they give you a graph, like the one that is given to you, there's one very easy way to do it, right? So the first thing is, notice how there's 2 points given to you. They're right there. And we are going to do what is called rise over run. Let's see if you remember that. Now, another thing that I want to mention to you guys is that I usually tell my students to circle the highest point of my line. If that it's pointing to the right, then guess what? My slope is going to be positive. Very good. If it was to be pointing to the left, then my slope will be negative. So what exactly means rise over run? Well, it means that I'm going to count from one of the 2 points. I'm going to count until I reach the height of the other one. So let's see if we can count. So far I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So we're going 12 up. After that, I want you to go to try to reach the other point. So we're going to go to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 to the right. Therefore, I'm going to write down my rise over run as 12 over 6. And that will give me a positive 2. So guess what? That is my slope. Very good. So I'm going to write down over here the word slope. So it is very simple to do that, but that's going to happen only in certain conditions. Number one, when 2 points are given to me that are exactly on the intersection of a x and a y coordinate. Number two, if I can tell exactly, right, that those points are whole numbers. If they're decimals, then it's going to make it more difficult. And of course, it has to be on a graph. But that is also going back to what we said before, that it says change of y over change of x. Is that right? So we're going to go back and we're going to now do algebraically. How will you work this problem finding the slope using algebra or using a formula? I want you to go back and look at your formula chart or your reference material. There is a formula that it says m equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And of course, that refers to my points that are given to me, which are 4, 5, and also -2, -7. So we're going to use the formula to confirm that my slope it is a 2. Let's write some labels here. This is my x sub 1. This is my y sub 1 because it's my first point. This is x sub 2 and y sub 2. I tell my students to circle the y coordinate because that's the one that goes on the numerator. So let's start. Y sub 2, it's -7 minus 5. X sub 2, it's -2 minus x sub 1, which is a 4. If you perform the operation -7 minus 5, I will get a -12. And if you perform the operation -2 minus 4, I do get a -6. Now, I want you to remember that a negative over a negative is the same as a positive. Very good. So I don't know if you see the connection now between this number and the one that we had earlier. It's exactly the same. Very good. So if I simplify -12 divided by -6 or +2 divided by 6, I will get a +2. And that will be my slope. Very good. So let's write down labels here. So I can use the rise over run but I can also do the slope formula. So far, so good? Okay, what's the next thing that I need to find? I need to find the y-intercept. Now, in order for me to find the y-intercept, there's a couple of things that I need to consider. Number one, I can look at the graph. Is that correct? Yes, and I can find the point where the line crosses the y-axis. Very good. So this is my y. So I need to find the point where my line crosses the y-axis. So there is a point right here. Is that right? Now, be careful because in some occasions, sometimes your line is going to cross the y-axis, but it might not be in an exact location of a whole number. So for that, we will need to use the formula, but we will do the formula also in a minute. So what point is this one? You know, students always had trouble writing a point when it includes a zero. So I'm going to give you a hint on this. That point is touching what number? Yes, it is touching -3. But the -3, it's on the y-axis. So guess what? The -3 will be my y-coordinate. Very good. And who will be my x-coordinate? That will be 0. So now I'm looking at the y-intercept. And we agree that the y-intercept means the point that is touching the y-axis. Very good. Or that is on the y-axis. And right now I found my point as 0 and -3. Therefore, my y-intercept will be -3. So the y-intercept can be written down as a coordinates like 0, -3. Usually you will find it just by itself. So the value that represents my y-intercept, it's the -3. Very good. Now, like I said earlier, we can also do from the algebra point of view. And I want you to go back and look at your formula chart or your reference material. The reference material has one equation that is in slope intercept form and is given as y equals mx plus b, where the y-intercept is your b, very good, and your slope is the m. So I do know, and we're going to pretend as I haven't discovered what was my y-intercept. So I'm going to choose one point. So choose one point from the 2 points that are given to you. So I'm choosing 4 and 5. That would be my x, and 5 will be my y. And I'm also going to use the slope that I found, which is a 2. Okay, so I'm going to come back to my equation, and I'm going to replace y with the value of 5, m will be 2, and x will be 4. And the b, I do not know the number, so I'm going to write down just plus b. Let's continue my equation. 2 times 4 is 8. Is that right? So I need to leave b by itself, so I need to take away 8 on both sides. Remember, whatever you do on one side, you do it to the other side. 8 minus 8 cancels out. So my answer would be b equals, what's 5 minus 8? Yes, you do get a -3. So now I can confirm the b, it is -3. Okay, so look at the answer choices and see where did you find that. The answer for that will be letter C. Very good.